Hi, I'm Rob Vanstone. I'm here with Murray McCormick and Ian Hamilton. We're here to discuss another installment of our top 10 of Roughriders poll. We're talking about best defensive player in Roughriders history, and there's some fodder for debate here. It's an interesting category. The category was won by Ed Mcquarters. Bobby Jurison was right behind there. There's a number of legendary defensive players in the history of the team who deserve to be part of the conversation, and each of us had a different first place vote. Murr?
I picked Eddie Lowe, and I was trying to think, it's part of the reason because he stood out of my mind. I thought of all the defensive players I've seen, just Eddie Lowe, I remember having huge impacts. I remember that 89 West final where he popped Tracy Ham and Dave Albright returned the fumble. Huge play, gets him to the Grey Cup, I think. He had consistency, a middle linebacker. He kind of did everything. I'm kind of a middle linebacker type guy. I got that big kind of burly guys in the middle. So I thought Eddie Lowe. Ian? I think we differed, didn't we?
I went with Ed Mcquarters, actually. I think of a dominant defensive lineman who made an impact on this team after coming up from the United States, and really a guy that maybe kind of set the tone for other defensive tackles and other defensive linemen that followed in his footsteps here.
I mean, he probably should have had an NFL career. I mean, he was so fast. Ed Mcquarters, when he came in '66, a lot of the people on that '66 team talked about Ed Mcquarters as a difference maker. Mm-hmm. Yes, they had Ronnie. Yes, they had George. Yes, they had Hugh Campbell. And that nucleus was in place. But Ed Mcquarters was that little missing ingredient that added some ferocity to their pass rush. But having said all that, I voted for Bobby Jurison. I looked at the longevity and the excellence over a long period, and that's not to discount Ed Mcquarters, 1966 to 1974. Bobby Jurison's peak years lasted a little bit longer. He arrived in '86. '87, he had more than 20 sacks, and in his final season, 1997, he was an all-star. So you look at a span of 11 seasons when he was an elite defensive lineman, and the bandana didn't hurt either as far as leaving a permanent impression on people. But I mean, it's an interesting debate because you can go in so many directions with this. Ron Atchison got a first place vote in this category, and Atch played for 17 years for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So I mean, there's so many. Bill Baker. There's so many guys we can talk about here.
Like, I found it was hard finding top 10 special teams players to get the categories. I was amazed at how many names I had for top 10 defensive guys. I don't know if that says something about the franchise, that it's defenses of what wins, but there's so many good defensive players. Throw Glenn Suter there too, who's well known for his TV stuff. There's probably kids that don't remember that Glenn Suter was a pretty darn good safety in his day, and his name didn't make it there. So it was one of the tougher categories to sort out, and I think we all kind of agree that we don't all agree.
Ian?
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, I put Barry Wilburn on my list at number 5. This guy might be the best cover guy that has ever played in Saskatchewan. Granted, he didn't play here long and he had off-field issues, but I mean, that's a talented player. I had Ken Mccarran high on my list. There's just any number of things you can look at in terms of measurables or immeasurables with these players, and I think we all kind of came to different conclusions.
And we could fill a long segment with this one, but we're out of time. So for Murray and Ian, I'm Rob. Thanks for joining us today.